Hello and welcome. I am GR Fayez, and for today's tarot video, we are going to be going over the Hanged Man. So grab your deck and find the Hanged Man card. So typically the Hanged Man is represented by an individual who is sort of loosely tied to some type of tree structure, but usually they're tied to some type of structure, not always. In this case, it's rather relaxed, hands behind his back, his feet, one foot's in the air and one's just sort of relaxed and hanging down. Another thing I just actually wanted to point out was this halo around our Hanged Man. Okay, so the Hanged Man can typically represent moments of reflection, moments where we are looking at new things, meditating on them, and really just seeing, what works for us, what we think will work for us. Now, sometimes the Hanged Man can show that we don't actually want to move forward, if that makes sense. There's a little bit of a hesitation. Maybe we don't know what the best direction is, and we're really trying to assess everything. And what I will say is though, sometimes you need to go in one direction in general at some point. But the Hanged Man can indicate an almost lack of action. And sometimes it's, for meditative purposes, and sometimes it's uncertainty. And so we need to know when is waiting too long. The Hanged Man can also represent transition, moving from one part of your life or one phase into another. And we sort of don't know what happens as we move into these next phases or these changes that we have. So the Hanged Man is an indication of that. We are moving on with certainty to a new phase, but we're a little unsure, or maybe we're hesitant about what's next to come. A Hanged Man is typically, shouldn't say typically, but you will often see it with sort of teenagers or young adults, who are going from one phase to another. Sometimes they might feel they're not in complete control, and so that can sort of be an indication of that as well. If the Hanged Man is reversed, which she just looks like he's standing right side up at this point, what I would say is perhaps the person knows that change is coming, and they are hesitant to move forward. It's often common in this weird way that a lot of change cards, if someone doesn't like to change, will show up in a reading and they'll all be reversed, and that person really does not like change. So that's what this can mean. Another thing this can mean is we're waiting too long now. We've had the time, we've meditated, we've assessed. Now is the time where we really do need to make a choice and not be so stuck in this Hanged Man position. Another meaning is possibly people, as I said, for teenagers or for when we are at different moments of transition in our own lives, not just teenagers and young adults, but it's this indication of maybe worrying about the next steps, of doing little things that you feel are right, but you also feel, I'm still not fully in control, I'm still not fully where I want to be. And it's okay to have those feelings. Change takes time. The things we want take time. But if this is the case, I would say don't necessarily give up, but just be aware that not everything happens as quickly as we would like. So again, those are just some of the definitions. If you only feel comfortable with the right side up definitions, go with those, and you can add the reverse later if you would like. Now we're actually going to take a look at a few other hangmans in various decks. One little, potential trigger warning is one of the hangmans is a little bit more of a violent looking card, so that is just something to consider as you continue the video. So here we have our various versions of the Hanged Man. So as you can see in the Wizard's deck, we do have the gentleman, and he appears to be sitting right side up, but actually if you look above him in this sort of picture frame, right, he is reflected upside down, and we of course have some runes over here. So again, this one, as well as sort of this hint of gold around the head, around the crown there, sort of to me represents again that state of observing, that state of trying to make a decision, a sort of maybe enlightened decision, and also taking time for self as well, right? Again, remember, if it's upside down, that might be a little too much delay and sort of telling you to push it into gear a little bit. Also, with this idea of sort of things being in suspension because you're not moving forward, again, it's sort of this idea of suspension in the upside down frame. Now, one of the other definitions of the hangman that I don't necessarily use a ton for it, unless if I see other cards, is the idea of a representation of punishment, which is a little bit more of what the Arthurian legend sort of does, because as I said, this one is a hanged man, so that was the little trigger warning that we gave, but this is the hangman again, and this one though is more along the idea almost of punishment, if you will. So that is a definition as well, though that would be one that I would need other sort of negative moment cards in order to sort of draw that conclusion from. So again, here are our various versions of the hanged man. So thank you for joining me. If you're a returning person, welcome back. And if you're new, I'm very glad you would take this journey today. Again, if you found this video for the hangman helpful, please like and subscribe as well as share. Take what works for you and leave the rest. Have a great day.